Right on the minute. Right on. I will do that. Okay, I'd like to call this meeting to order. Thank you, everyone, for coming tonight. Roll call. All of us are here, all new board members, as well as those have been sitting before. One thing before we do the oath of office, there's been a change in our minutes a little bit. We're going to add under E, under other business, LUBA appeal. So we know. And at this time, I'd like to, I think that we're going to have the oath of office for our new board members down at the far end of the table. And so, Kat, were you going to do that? And so what's going to happen is you get to read the oath of office and state your name, and then we go on.
So would you like them to read it and state their name?
Do you guys have one, a copy of that down there?
Or shall I? I can read it out.
I think the Kat can read it out loud, and then you can go ahead and say.
Great.
I do hereby accept my appointment to the Board of Directors of the Chehalem Park and Recreation District. I do further promise, agree, and covenant to and with the Chehalem Park and Recreation District to faithfully perform to the best of my ability all obligations, duties, and requirements that are incidental to my board membership. And I further agree that I will always seek to achieve the best interests of the Park and Recreation District in the exercise of the powers vested in me pursuant to ORS 266.
Are we reading this together, or are we gonna just?
One at a time?
You can just say, I do.
Just say, I agree.
I agree.
That'll work.
Keep it simple. Okay, welcome to Chehalem Park and Recreation District. With that said, at this point, we have an election of officers for the district. Basically, there's president of the board, vice president of the board, secretary, treasurer of the board, and then 2 directors. So once the president is elected and the other members are elected to their specific positions, then what happens is then we go down to the next group of items, and the president assigns or requests. And that, what I mean by that is the president will say, who would like to serve on the financial planning and personnel committee, recreation program committee, Parks and Development, the way it's gone for the last 40-ish years is if people are willing to do it, great, and then we go from there. So, and then there's more positions down below that. So we could probably move through those pretty quickly. Some folks may know what they want to do already, so speak up when that happens. But anyway, so first I'd like to open nominations for president of the board.
I would like to nominate Matt Smith.
I'd like to nominate Jim McMaster.
Okay, so we have Matt Smith and Jim McMaster. So all those in favor of, is there any other nominations for president?
You need a second.
Okay.
I second Matt Smith.
Okay, I'll second myself then, I guess. And make Lisa happy. Okay, all those in favor of Matt Smith, please raise your hand. Okay, here we go. Okay, Matt, I'm going to pass the gavel down to you, and you are now president of our board. So it's your show. Thank you.
Do my best to remember Robert's Rules of Order here. Next piece of business is vice president of the board. I would like to nominate Jason Fields as vice president of the board. Is there any second?
I'll second.
Okay, nomination and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Our next piece of business is secretary treasurer of the board. Is there anyone that has interest in this role?
I've been doing it, I don't mind doing it.
Any other discussion on
I
that?
nominate Gail as a.
And I'll second it.
Okay. Nomination made in a second. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor? Aye. So committee appointments. And can staff give a little bit of background on these three appointments and what the expectations are specifically to these things?
What we normally do is anytime we have a financial or personnel issue, we have a board member. As you are aware, the board may not meet. Anytime the board meets, we have to notice there come situations where discussion needs to be met. So with financial, recreation program, parks development, these people, we can have no more than 2 board members per committee. And we basically have 3 committees.
Yeah, I'd like to recommend Lisa anyway for financial and personnel. She's very attuned to financial issues and putting together budgets for herself and other government agencies, so I think that would be valuable for us to have her in there.
I second that.
We don't usually vote on this.
Okay.
President
I'm just promoting her
appoints.
Okay.
Yeah, the president is the guy.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, I will appoint Lisa to the Financial and Personnel Committee. And you
I don't mind
said.
doing that too, if there's two, unless
Okay,
somebody
that
else
was my
wants it.
next question. So we're typically doing 2 per.
You don't have
You
to.
can't, you only have
You
to-
can.
Only if there's the interest. Okay. I'll also nominate Gail Bezo as well to the Financial and Personnel Committee. Recreation programming. Is there anyone who has interest in that or any discussion about that? I don't know who was on that committee in the past, if either of you two were, or either of you three were.
No, my wheelhouse basically is parks and development, because that's what I did for the district when I was here, so.
Okay, not seeing a lot of interest in the recreation.
Well, I have interest, but
Yeah,
there's interest,
Okay.
but hopefully somebody else here is interested too,
So
so.
speak now or forever hold your peace. Anyone?
I mean, if nobody else is interested, I'll go ahead and do it.
Okay,
But if somebody else is interested, I'll step up.
okay. I will appoint Lisa to the Recreation Programming Committee. And then Parks and Development, I will appoint Jim. Thanks. And is there anyone else?
I think I'd like to be part of that as well.
Also, okay. And I will take kind of a backup on the recreation programming as well. Okay. So liaison appointments, quite a few of these, so we'll have to have a little discussion, I'm sure, to see who's been on a liaison, who's interested in new ones, and so forth. County of Yam Hill staff, I'm assuming that's someone who interacts with the Board of Commissioners and anything specific.
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Normally, what we do in these particular positions is we always have a board member we can call on. For instance, if we have a difficulty or we're in something, we usually inform the board and we bring a board member along. The reason for that is so the board member can tell the board as well. So,
I would like to do that. Yes.
Interesting, okay. I will appoint Jason Fields to County of Yam Hill. And then the Special District of Oregon, Can you provide just a little bit of background on what that entails specifically?
SDL was a professional organization that we've been members of. We normally get our insurance through them, those type situations. We've had a representative with them. As a matter of fact, we've even held office on the SDA old board. So
Matt, you mentioned you have insurance background. Maybe that'd be your wheelhouse. Or not. I mean, I don't mind serving for that with them. I've dealt with them before, but
I wouldn't mind having a part of that as well. So,
well, just one of us, so if you want to do it.
sure.
This one. I will nominate Jason Fields for that one, as much as I love insurance.
You just don't want to do it another job.
Yeah. Yeah, when I'm off of my insurance job, and that's the last thing I want. Council of Governments, I don't know if anyone in this group has served on that before. It's something I'd be interested in. If you've been on.
I'm currently,
Okay. Yeah, something you.
I'm sure you can get it.
Okay. I will take that one. City of Dundee,
Yeah, I've worked with those folks before. There's a City of Dundee, and then there's the Dundee Civic Committee. They kind of intertwine. I wouldn't mind working with that part of our district.
okay.
Unless someone else is real excited about working with them.
No, I'll appoint you to both, so that would be city council, or the City of Dundee and the Dundee Civic Committee. Okay. Next on this list is the City of Newburgh. That's something that I would very much like to serve on as a liaison. So I will appoint myself to that, as well as Newburgh Schools. Next is Chamber of Commerce. Who do we do? Any of?
I've basically served on that for many, many years, probably 30-some years.
So this can be staff
Oh,
also.
okay.
Yeah.
Oh, well,
So
wow, I did not know that. Okay. I'm learning stuff every day. So I'm assuming you would be amenable to
I've,
point you to Chamber of Commerce. We already did Dundee Civic Committee, so next we have the Cultural Committee, and I'm assuming that's the Cultural Center? Okay, okay. And you are serving on, are you on the nonprofit board itself, or
I
do you
am
serve?
the security representative.
Okay. And with respect to that, is it possible, staff to have more than one board of director member on the cultural center?
That agreement between the two organizations.
Yeah.
Okay,
There's
so
just
maybe
one.
Just one?
Yeah.
Okay,
That's what we've had in the past. We can always request.
okay. Okay, I will nominate Lisa, but if, I'll direct staff to look into that and see if it's possible to potentially have another board member serve on that position. Okay, next we have community groups. What is that specifically?
We have probably, I don't know the number exactly, but we have a lot of community groups that we deal with. Normally, we like to have a board member if a problem arises that we call in on that. And we've used it from time to time. It's like a Little League organization, swim team, can be chess club, can be anything. Just community group.
I'll nominate Gail to the Community Groups Committee. And Trails Advisory Committee, I think that's been one of the more active ones, so we do know what that is.
Yeah, I'd like to serve on that one. So I know trails pretty well. I was on it before. But we can have more than one on there.
Yeah,
so.
I'd like to be on there with you.
Both of you guys
Yeah.
interested in serving? And that's okay, staff, that we have two on that,
Sure.
committee. Gotcha, okay. I will appoint, Jim and Jason both to the Trails Advisory Committee. Next we have Pickleball Committee, another one of our active committees, and I know, Gail, this is one that you've been serving on. Is that something you continue to interest? Arm wrestle, okay. I will appoint Gail to the Pickleball Committee. And then last but not least, the Golf Course Committee. It's another one of our active committees. I believe John was serving on that one, so do you have particular interest?
I'd like to serve on that.
Okay, I'll appoint Jason to the Golf Course Committee.
Hey, Matt, real quick, point of order, I was wondering back with the Newbury School District, since we may be doing some development stuff with them, maybe I should, if it's okay with you, maybe I would serve with you on that one?
Serve with me? That sounds perfect.
Mainly from the development standpoint.
We'll both do that one. Okay. So I believe, unless I missed one, that is all of our committee and liaison appointments.
Have we got, may I ask?
Go ahead.
Dawn, do we ever have more than one person on the chamber?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, because I'd sure like to be on there with you.
okay,
Yeah,
because I can't always make it, so it'd be nice.
yeah, okay, super.
Okay, that's something you're interested in. Okay, I will also nominate Jason Fields to the Chamber of Commerce Committee. Okay, we'll go ahead and close that section and then move to other business. Approval of the minutes of the June 29th meeting. I don't know if there's any specific rules for, are the new members allowed to vote on this since we weren't part of the minutes? Yeah. Okay. Is there any discussion, additions, deletions, modifications that anyone has to the minutes? I'll entertain a motion. Okay, motion made, a second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Okay, next we have financial statement for June 2023. Staff, is that anything to discuss on that?
No, we normally submit you a report. I can assure you that it will change as the audit gets closer. It's close. I would say it's probably 98 to 99% accurate, but there will be adjustments. There always is at the end of the year. So I wanted you to have a copy of it so that you would see what the results of it is. Simply, we brought in roughly $14 million, but $6 million of that was a beginning balance. And so we actually brought in about $8 million. If you notice, we spent close to $8 million, just 7, I think it was 7.7 if I remember off the top of my head, but that's what we spent. So far, we're okay. As long as we have that, the beginning balance has been budgeted for various projects that we'll get into later as we go through the year. So, but that's a rough detail.
Is this something we need a formal vote to approve, or?
Normally, yes, it's accepted. Financial.
Yeah, I'll move to approve the financial statement for June 2023. All those in favor?
Motion made and a second. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Resolution 7/1/23.
This is a housekeeping chore whereby we have to go to the bank, change names, and the resolution pretty much explains. Many years ago, I shouldn't say many, I think it was 2013, we used to have 2 board members sign all checks. The board decided they didn't want to do that, so I sign all the checks, and then, as you know, each month I present you with the checks and those type things that are signed and the amounts. So what this resolution does is we'll take it to the bank, and we have 2 members that'll be removed and 2 members that'll be added to the checks.
Move that we approve resolution 0701.
A second.
Motion made and second. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. And then we have, we're now at E, I'm assuming, the Luba appeal.
No, D first, and then you,
Others not on agenda.
yeah, there's not on agenda. Never doing that last, I mean, you're president, you can switch it if you want.
Okay. Okay. So what is the process for items not on agenda?
Well, I tell you what, I will tell you that I wanted to make a statement since I've been elected. I hope that would be acceptable.
Alright.
So, first of all, I want you guys to know today, it is truly an exciting day for me. Because I've been elected, sworn in, and I am committed to serve my community, and this is truly an honor to me. As a kid, my family was incredibly poor. So one of our only outlets that we had is going to a school or going to a park, riding bike trails. That's what we got to do as kids. And so I understand how important this is to our families and our community. My goal as a director is to give the taxpayers of Yamhill County the parks that we pay for. We will work to ensure that our parks are clean, safe, and accessible. We will continue expanding our trail system and build new parks while protecting personal property rights and following land use laws. We will work with our county commissioners and our city officials to facilitate our projects. And I look forward to working with this board and our community, and that way we can build and protect our parks. And I thank everybody for coming here today. So.
Thank you.
Do any of the other directors have any statements or anything they would like to add at this time?
Thank you. So,
Jim, Gail, anything?
thank you.
Well, I have a statement, it's not quite as exciting as Jason's, but I just want to let everyone know that I'm honored to be elected by this community I love and lived in for a long time. My vision as a member of this board is to build bridges with all stakeholders in our district. And that includes the cities of Newburgh and Dundee, the school district, Yamhill County, state of Oregon, ODOT, the landowners, and then most importantly, the citizens and the taxpayers of the district that I serve and we all serve. And I just want everyone to know, I love our parks, our public spaces, and I will always fight to make them accessible, safe, and usable for the citizens and for everyone in the district. And I do believe that by working together with everyone, all our stakeholders, and not fighting, there's literally no limit to what we can accomplish. And that's my little vision and mission statement as my role on this board. Okay, nothing else in section D then?
Well, it says, others not on the agenda would be the public.
Okay, so
If
public
there's
comment
anyone wishing to address the board,
here. Okay,
How many rules do you want to set before that on timeline and so on and so forth?
well, I know that we had, or the prior board had, gone over potential rules. We do not have those in place now. And so I think we were doing something like 3 minutes a person. So until we discuss further and come to a conclusion as a new board, I think we'll do 3 minutes a person. Looks like there's a couple of people here. So we'll go ahead and take citizen comment. I would like to just have you state your name, full name, and then your address, and then go ahead and give your statement. And I think we have a timer or something close to the timer somewhere. You're up. Yeah.
Pete Siderius, I live in Dundee, and I was involved in the Parks and Rec as a budget member and a board member for the last 12 years prior to the last 2. I really enjoyed what you said, collaborating and taking into consideration all members of the community. That's the way we've always done it, and we've just about always come to consensus on the board. I can't remember in forever that we didn't all agree on something. We discussed it long enough and had enough public input to do that. And so, from what you said, I really appreciate that. I also want to inform you that a lot of these projects that we have going on now were decided a decade ago. And we put the money and infrastructure and all those things that are going to come to fruition here in the near future. And it would be a shame to waste all that money and time and effort by staff and board members and all the contacts we made, the grants they wrote. It would be a shame to waste that money by stopping some projects just because you're ideologically opposed. I take exception with the private property thing. That's exactly what the commissioners told me when I asked them about the Newburgh Dundee bypass trail. That is all on public land, and there's very few houses that are affected by it at all. And we have gotten a phase 1 grant, which I can't remember the ORS, but when they build new roads in Oregon, they actually are required by law from the legislature to build an area that's a trail next to it. And that is what they did for us when they did the Newburgh Dundee bypass. And that's been in the works for, I don't know, even probably before I got on the board. And that's really a safety corridor issue. My kids grew up in Dundee. I would never let them ride their bike, even as teenagers, to Newburgh. 99W to me was too dangerous. You couldn't go, there was no other route that has any kind of shoulder. And this would be a perfect opportunity for the community to have a safe transit for families with children between the two cities. Now, when I asked the commissioners what their thoughts were on that, they said private property rights were what was stopping them from, when they removed it from their consideration. That would be a terrible shame. And there's a lot of other projects that are in the works and have been in the works for years, that it would be a terrible shame through ideology and to stop those things from happening. There will be absolutely wonderful things for our community. And we spent a lot of time talking to the community before we ever did any of these things. And that's it. Is that my time?
Yeah.
You're terrible.
I didn't see anyone time, word is
I
out.
hope for the best. I hope for the best.
Thank you. Okay, any other citizens input?
I'd like to, if there's.
Ryan and then Bart will be next.
Okay, no problem. I will definitely try and stay within my 3 minutes. I took a few notes, so hopefully I can expedite. Ryan,
Say
right?
your name and address.
Yep, Ryan Reinhofer. I live on Parrot Mountain. And welcome to the new board members. Just so some of this isn't entirely applicable, but as of last week, riding through the trails, some small signs that were posted on the back of the park signs notifying people, I guess, if they looked at the back of the signs, that bike races are now beginning every week for 6 months. That was a bit of a surprise to the neighbors, the attendees, the local community, and the equestrians. When I emailed the board as to how can this be, and there was no discussion, no meeting, no nothing, and I attend every meeting. I was informed that that was an eternal thing they discussed it and decided on. To me, that comes across as, well, it seeds discord, distrust, and frustration, at least among a lot of the neighbors and myself, that we've been active, we've communicated, we've attended, and it was an utter surprise. Basically, in contradiction to what the previous board had said, that they're holding tight, not making any decisions until the master plan was approved, but yet behind closed doors, there's now races going on for 6 months. So I have questions on how that can be, and I would request that that is at a minimum stopped. This is a Lake Oswego bike team coming here because of the Friends of Lucier Park have not allowed them to operate there because of the neighborhood input, the impact on their roads, the trails, the degradation, and so forth with the nature and peace. So now they are moving to Yamhill. I would like to protect what the park was intended for, which was equestrian, agricultural, and enrichment for nature and the locals. That was my first point. My second point is I'm looking at the clock. In the last 2 weeks, I've had several unfortunate interactions, which Dawn and Russ are privy to at least one of them, of children smoking, doing drugs, heckling, and being at the park after dark. A $200 gate, an ounce prevention, pound of cure. It's really, really hot out there. There was a fire at Old Perrin Mountain last night. I just think it's really sound, sage, money well spent, that we don't have to wait on a master plan to put up a $200 gate and give everyone some peace of mind. I'm willing to contribute. I'll pay for a gate. I can get it installed, whatever it takes to just stop the after hours partying in the parks. Thank you.
Staff, can we put this on the agenda for our next meeting as a discussion? Okay, Bart, you were promised our next.
Well, welcome you guys, and I really enjoyed both your opening statements, and appreciate you wanting to work collaboratively with everyone. So I'm really excited about what you might be able to offer for the trails and Bart Ryerson's especially the battle lot. Just broke my heart when I lost the access to use that, and it was something really great for the community. And Jason said he's got some ideas, and really looking forward to doing whatever I can to help you guys achieve those goals.
Okay, any other comment back there?
Hello, welcome. My name is Matthew Dolphin. I live on Mountain Home up on Chehalis Mountain. I come before the board to speak in favor of CPRD building more trails for our community. Specifically, I'm in favor of the completion of the footbridge within Ewing Young Park that would allow the public to access 11 acres of parkland already owned by CPRD, but blocked by Chehalis Creek and landlocked by about half a dozen neighbors. There are numerous social, health, and economic benefits to community trails. And if it would be helpful, I'd be happy to share more of that information with you. However, today instead what I'd like to focus on are the major concerns that I've heard from opponents to trails. The first one, and probably most notable, is property owner rights. The first, I'm a firm believer that property owners should be able to do as they wish with their land within reasonable confines of the law. It's really a cornerstone of our society that your neighbor shouldn't get in the way of your quiet enjoyment of your own land. On the flip side, you shouldn't be getting in the way of your neighbor's quiet enjoyment of their land. In the case of Ewing Young, we have a group of NIMBY, not in my backyard neighbors, that want to tell the 35,000 or so citizen owners of this park what to do with their property. This park has been owned by the citizens of CPRD since 1972. That is way before most of those homes were built around that park. They all purchased property understanding that it was a park, but now complain that it's being used as a park. This ridiculousness will not stand a LUBA appeal, and I encourage you to fight the county on this. Second is homelessness. It goes like something like this: homeless people will use the trails or parks, therefore we shouldn't have trails or parks. You know, I've seen homeless people on the sidewalks of Newburgh and on McMinnville. And under the trail opponent's flawed reasoning, then we should probably just close up all the sidewalks. Punishing an entire community because of the misfortunes of a few is hardly a solution to the problem of poverty in our community. Trails do not create homelessness. But in trail opponents' fantasy world, a mommy trail and a daddy trail get together and they create a homeless person. That's not how the real world works. The absence of trails is not going to miraculously solve poverty and mental illness. The only way to help the homeless problem in our communities is to help homeless people.
Your time is up, but I'll give you a little more time
Thank
to
you.
just wrap it up.
The final one that I'd like to address is cost. I've heard cost is an issue with the bridge. Yes, welcome to the adult world. Nice things cost money. If we want to have a nice community, we have to invest in it. But overall, trails are way less expensive to build and maintain than any other infrastructure in our county. And amortized over a generation or two, they're an extremely wise investment. But that's not the time scale that politics works in, is it? Politicians are thinking of the next election, which may be a few months away or a couple years away. We don't think in generational terms. And what we need you to do as a board, what we need you to do is to put politics behind you when you sit down in this chair and become real leaders with a vision that looks ahead for the next generation. Thank you.
My name's Alan Holstein. I'm a 40-year resident of the district. I live in Dundee. And I told the previous board that I looked at my property tax statement to see what the district cost me, and I thought, what a value, and I'm glad you share that point of view. Decades ago, I participated in a Dundee visioning exercise that had parks and trails as part of its vision, and it stands on City Hall to this day. So that community is strongly behind it. I want to echo previous comments that finally I'm a retired wine grower, and I've been managing agricultural properties for decades, and I've learned the hard way that property rights extend to the property boundaries. And it's just that simple. And I made the point to the county commission last week that it's that simple, that property rights extend to the boundaries. And after that, if the public owns the property, it's the public property rights. And so I encourage you to appreciate that. But I appreciate your commitment to this. It takes time and more than I'm willing to give. And so I appreciate your commitment And I'm also on the trail committee with Matt and look for the direction from the board about how we can better facilitate those efforts.
Thank you. Any other?
Yes, Tamara Bush Johnson, I live on Parrot Mountain as well. And I just, just kind of following up with what Brian had stated earlier about the parties of the kids and smoking and everything up there. To wait a month to discuss it just seems like I'd be happy to contribute too, to get it bought and installed. If staff knows, I think some of the staff members also know about the issues up there. It just seems like a whole month to have the parties continue is not a wise decision in terms of just the danger on that hill with the fire danger.
Sure, absolutely. You as board members right now can address that by directing the staff to, just tell Don down here, look, they have a real issue up there. Go look at it, and if it's a problem, let's do something about it.
Okay, well,
Jim.
Yeah, so I saw the email thread coming through, you guys will get them now too. Anyway, about the situation up there, and I don't disagree. Something needs to be done. And I talked to Dawn about that, and that we need to look at that from a safety standpoint. So it's not like I haven't addressed it, because I did at that time. When I saw this coming through, I immediately went and talked to Dawn. And so Dawn, I'm sure Matt's gonna answer this question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Where are we at on that, or with Brian?
By Friday, we'll have that done. We'll have the gates done.
I'm sorry,
Right,
did you,
Brian?
what did you say?
I said the gates will be done.
We'll have it done.
By
This is
this
a
coming
gate on the-
Friday?
That's
I don't
correct.
think it'll be done Friday, Don.
No, it
Are you
needs
talking
to be
about
done by Friday. We start tomorrow. It'll be done.
And this is the gate at the parking lot.
That's correct.
At the.
There's 3 parking areas and
But there's
one of
three
them is
areas
pretty
that
massive.
are at risk here.
That's
So-
what he's saying, there
Hold
are
on.
3 that may not
Guys.
be able to be done.
Okay, hold on. So we're looking at a gate on one of them in particular, or all 3 of them?
All three.
All 3 of them, okay.
We will put that up. There's no reason.
And are we posting the typical hours restrictions, dawn to dusk, that kind of thing?
The park
And
rules
that's-
are up there posted.
Okay, Jim?
Yeah, Don's saying that he wants to get them done by Friday, and if by chance something happens where we can't get them all done by Friday, is Bob's Corner the most urgent one to get done?
Trailer in
The
area
trailer
right now
is
is the
getting
Oh, the
most.
trailer in there.
Yeah.
both of
Yeah.
Because they can
It's
hide,
high.
They
they can hide in the trees. They were out last night too.
Uh-huh.
I see them every night.
Okay, well, that's good to know.
The trailer in area will require a gate. You can do that. The other one, where we may have difficulty, and we'll work on it, is at the main parking lot. It may require a couple of gates. So, yeah,
But thank you.
but we'll move on it right
Thank
away.
you. It's.
I think if you had priority, it would be the horse trailer in area. I mean, down at the house, you've got someone there, so I don't see as many cars there at night. But I would say they've kind of moved, there's more of them now, so they've moved to a bigger area, which is the trailer area.
Well, you saw last
Yeah.
week, there was 4 cars that you
Yeah.
saw.
Yeah, I
So-
saw it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
That's huge.
Yes.
Thank you.
Has the board or staff or anyone interacted with the sheriff at all? I'm assuming that's their jurisdiction.
It is,
Um,
their response time is fairly slow.
the- the-
Usually people are gone by the time they get up there. It's 30 minutes sometimes.
who polices this gate?
Well, we have 2 residents that live up there. They're not on duty 24 hours a day, and they're responsive to most neighbors, and most neighbors know who they are.
So will they be the ones opening and?
For now, until, we might look at
Unlocking.
automatic gate lockers and things like that,
Okay,
because I know that can be done. It's a little more expensive, takes a little more time, but I directed our master planner up there to make sure that gets included in the master plan, that we're gonna need automatic gate openers, because it's a lot of, unless someone's living up there permanently, taking like caretaker type stuff, it's gonna take some requirement to get those gates open and closed every day.
What's the
Name and address.
method, Bob Travers, resident in Newburgh. What is the type of fencing that you're thinking, or gate that you're putting in?
Well, it would be like farm type gates.
Swing gate.
Yeah, swing gates.
And this is strictly for vehicles?
Yeah, most of the pedestrians can get through most everywhere, but vehicles, yeah, we have some areas that they want to get into, and they have broken gates down before, just so they have to be a little bit stout.
And they will probably break them down.
That's right.
We'll have that going on as well.
Is there any opportunity to put cameras
That's what I was.
anywhere around them?
Remote camera.
We have some cameras up there, and we'll continue to install things like that as the park gets developed.
We have cameras at our parks throughout the district. We don't normally announce them. We share them with the police and the sheriff from time to time, depending on what the incident is.
Is there a legal issue regarding signage? You can put signs up anywhere if you have a video on public land? You don't have to have a sign, is that?
We have not, to my knowledge, no.
Might be a deterrent.
Okay, I think I saw a hand.
Oh, I was just gonna say, Dana Camp, Parrot Mountain. I did speak with Sergeant Eubanks from Yandell County just this week, and they have upped their patrol, so we haven't seen them go by at least once a night. So they are aware of the situation that, and they're willing to come up as much as they can. Onto the sign, on Hagen Road, there was another spot that we had a lot of dumping, and the county put up a sign that said, "You're on camera," and that really stopped. I don't know if they had a camera there, but it really stopped the dumping. So even a sign with somebody knows they're on camera, possibly that might be another deterrent. And until you get the camera up, so another thought.
Thank
That's
you.
good discussion. Glad that we're moving on that, and we will continue to discuss this. We'll bring this to the next meeting as well.
Teamwork.
Sure, there's a lot. Yeah. Good job. Okay, any other citizen input? See a kiddo back there?
Hi, I'm Max Dolphin. I live on Mountain Home Road. The bypass trail. The bypass has been made, but the trail that was supposed to go along with it has not. This impacts me and other kids that we don't have a safe place to ride bikes, walk, and run, and do other fun things that we would like to do as a kid. You might say, I have lots of places to do that, but you are wrong. I am 10 years old, and I am in preteen years. When I become a teenager, I will not want to play at a playground. Instead, I would like to ride bikes on a trail. It makes me angry that kids do not have a safe place to ride bikes. It doesn't seem fair that people without driver's licenses can't get from one place to another. It also doesn't seem fair that adults like you complain that kids like me are on our devices all the time, but you're not willing to give us another option of something to do. The bypass road was sold to the community with a trail. That was all part of the original plan. You also might say that you are concerned about property rights. This trail will not go through farmland. I don't understand how you are okay with a bypass going through farmland, but you are not okay with a trail, a less noisy, a less destructive, itsy bitsy trail. This is a trail that we want, a trail that people want, a trail that kids want. It also makes me mad to know that the adults that are supposed to be making good decisions for us kids and the community are violating a state law. There is an Oregon state law that says if the bypass or any road was supposed to have a trail with it, then the trail, part of the project, cannot be taken away after the road is built. If you didn't want the trail, then maybe you shouldn't have built the road. CPRD is specialized for trails, bike paths, and other recreational activities that the community can enjoy. If CPRD wasn't here, we wouldn't have soccer, football, parks, trails, or any recreational uses for kids in the community to enjoy. Thank you.
Manage speed for me from now on.
Okay, any other, citizen input or discussion? Yes.
Name Dolphin, Canadian Mountain, Mountain Road. Being a new mom is one of the hardest moments in a woman's life. Approximately 1 in 7 women will experience postpartum depression after giving birth. And even if you are one of the lucky ones that doesn't experience PPD, your mental and physical health can decline immensely during that time. And even if you're not a mom, there are so many studies that show that spending time in nature has been found to help with mental health problems such as anxiety and depression. So much so that doctors are nowadays prescribing ecotherapy, a type of formal treatment which involves doing activities outside in nature to treat things like mild to moderate depression. For me, and the group of over 10,000 local moms that I hike with, CPRD's Parks and Trails are our daily lifesaver. We've been able to connect with each other, share our struggles, and for a few hours in our hectic and lonely days with an infant, we can realize that we are not alone and that there are others going through the exact same things that we are. So many moms like myself rely on regular connection with nature. So many moms rely on getting their kids out of the house to run off or bike off for their energy in a safe space. And so many moms aren't as lucky as myself that can drive the 3 to 4 hours round trip that it takes to get out to the Banks Vernonia Trail or hike out in the gorge. As leaders in our community, I really hope that you would agree that mental health is a priority in our county. We need to be finding more ways, not less, to help our entire community stay mentally and physically healthy. If you stop projects like the bypass trail that connects Newburgh to Dundee and the Ewing Young Bridge that will connect to another 11 acres of that park, it's doing nothing to help our community. I understand that your statements earlier, and I really appreciate that, and I look forward to watching the progress and watching the decisions that are being made for our community.
Let's build a bridge. Okay, any other citizen input?
My name's Vince Cadelli. Thank you guys, man. I've been a for 50 years. I graduated in the from NHS and patients have in this community. I'm a 2017 X Games gold medalist, and I appreciate the value that nature has. Thank you that all from speaking about the public about that.
Any other input? Seeing none, move on to Luba appeal, staff, I assume you have a presentation and discussion for this one.
Yeah, go ahead, Casey.
Yeah, to give, welcome to our board and thank you for volunteering your time. I was directed, well, I came on board the Shale Park and Rec in 2004 when they built the golf course. That was my first job. Jim got busy with the pool, and I made some changes, and Jim kind of
I retired, just said it.
retired, so my position changed into going forward with the district, so I became the parks supervisor. So Jim had contracted with NV5, or I guess it was WH Pacific at the time, to do a master plan for Union Park. That was completed in 2018. And part of that master plan was, development of that park, the city park, and the BMX track, and parking areas, and trails all throughout. And on that plan, it was identified there was a bridge needed to cross Channel Creek. So when the board, we applied for a couple grants and never got them. And then a couple years ago, the board requested that I go ahead and try and develop that bridge. So we hired an engineer firm and went forward with that project, and got to the point where we submitted land use to the city and got permits for that. And we submitted land use permits to the county, and they denied the request. And they denied it on, I'm going to read this so I don't mess it up, because it is kind of delicate, and I think you should get the whole thing. We received the county land use application for the footbridge over Chehalem Creek was denied because the planning director has deemed the project a transportation facility, when in fact it is a park improvement. The county's decision quotes Luba ruling, which states the trails or other transportation facilities are not defined as an allowed use in the F10 zone. Our project is not a trail, but rather a park improvement, allowing for pedestrian access that will remain internal to Union Park. Trails and parks are two distinctly different land uses. Parks are permitted use in the F10 zone, and pedestrian pathways and access ways are essential to the development of parks. The definition of a park is found in section 200 of the Yamhill County zoning ordinance, which defines the term as any public or private land reserved for recreation, education, cultural, or open space uses. Zoning code, if we were to follow Yamhill County zoning code, and it says that transportation facilities are not an approved use in that zone, there would be several developments in Yamhill County that could not be developed because like trails and roads, and there are driveways, parking lots, and offloading facilities required in some of these areas, which are basically transportation facilities. There's parking lots. So I have kind of slowed down the process. We appealed to Luba, and we hired an attorney. We've spent about $10,000 so far with this request from Luba. And that was at the request of the board. An attorney was retained for that purpose and has been working with the CPRD. She's been working with the regional representative for Department of Lands and Conservation in state, and she did think there was likely a basis for filing an enforcement order due to what she sees as potentially some inconsistencies between the comprehensive plan policies and the zoning code. Now, I know the county has been working at changing, trying to modify their plan so that it more represents what the state rules code says. And it's been, my direction to the board was you can wait for Yamhill County to do that. You can ask the city to annex the property into the city where it wouldn't be a problem. Or you can file a LUBA. Annexation would be $100,000 or more, estimates of lawyers and things that have to happen. So we picked this LUBA deal as the least cost to get the bridge at Ewing Park built. Now, this has all gone through public meetings with the master planning process. Don and I have spoken to, and I know there was some resistance from the people that live in the homeowners association across the creek. And we did actually tour the property with them after that ruling was made by the county. And we would like to have further discussions with them, but we really would like to develop that property for the people of Yamhill County as an inclusion for the disc golf course, increase the size of the park, and provide those opportunities for people to see nature as it is. There's not a whole lot of other uses for that property, and that's not the determination. The fact is that it's public property, and I think the public should be able to access it. So I would ask that you review all the notes that I gave you, and you can either make a decision tonight and say, no, don't want to proceed, or you can read through the materials and see what your thoughts are. Talk to people if you need to. And my request to Don was to, maybe have a special meeting in 10 days or 2 weeks and give you that opportunity to look through that.
And so, to clarify a few things, a portion of this property on the other side of the creek is city and a portion of it is county, or is it all under county?
The portion on this side of the creek,
On
the north side,
the opposite side of.
on the opposite side, it's all county.
It's all county. And everything on the side that's currently been developed is city?
Yep. So the UGB line goes right through the middle of the creek.
And the bridge, is that meant to carry vehicles or just pedestrian traffic?
Maintenance vehicles and people, pedestrians.
Is there any intent to have like a parking lot or anything on the other side, or it's just to send pedestrians?
Absolutely inaccessible except through the private property owners that have houses on the other side. And those are all LDR homes up there. And then there's on the other side, close to them, there's lots of single home sites that are newly developed.
And the one thing in reviewing the materials the question that still comes up for me is what exactly do we believe our chances of prevailing via the appeal process are? Or what does staff believe, or what have we been instructed by the attorney?
She says, well, our attorney says there's a good chance that it will work. But at the same time, we could wait for the county to make a decision and just hold off on doing it and see what happens.
I'd like to open this up for discussion of the.
I have another question. What kind of a timeline are we looking at? Like how, let's say we get a green light.
Right now, we had it extended till the 28th of July.
if this all went through, what would the expected completion be?
It wouldn't start this year because it's too late. It would be next year.
Before you start the construction, is what you're saying?
Yep, because the permit stalled and we'll have to apply for an extension on the city permit. But we didn't realize it was gonna be a problem.
If we went the wait for Yam Hill route, how long do you think that would take?
I don't know.
What makes you think that the Yamhill County is gonna change their rules
I
and
don't know that
regulations?
for sure. I don't know anything.
When you say,
They've been, the county staff has been proposing changes to their zoning code since 2020 at least, maybe even before that.
when you say that the gal says that there's a good chance that this will go through, what does that mean?
Well, there is a good chance that it will, the DLCD can make the county make some changes.
Do they have the power to do that?
They do.
Are you sure?
As far as I know, yes.
Okay, Jeff?
Yeah, real quick, a couple things. One is, I think it's really important for our new board members, and Matthew got kind of a pre-tour of our properties, is to be able to see what properties we have, where things are at, and to be able to make an informed decision from seeing it yourself, not just on paper, but going down there. So I would ask Don or Casey if we could set up as soon as possible to do a tour of our properties, so we know what we're talking about on some of these things, if that's agreeable to everybody. The other thing I'm asking on this LUBA appeal is, does this also extend to the bypass trail the same? It would be a different, we wouldn't have to go to LUBA on that part.
No, as far as, I don't know.
Because that's something I'd want to point out. And the third thing is, we put this on the agenda tonight. The public didn't know that it was going to be on the agenda till it came here tonight. So I would say that I would like to have another meeting. I got this today, I haven't reviewed this or had time to look at it. And I really like when we make a decision on stuff to make sure that we have all the facts. So I'd like to see if the board is, Mr. President of the board, Mr. President, I like that, Mr. President, I can see Mr. Chairman. I'd like to see if the board is amenable to maybe having another meeting, because I think this is really important, and I think we need to look at it thoroughly and factually. That's just my opinion.
Oh, that was given to us by the county Monday.
So we have how many more days before it's?
Well, and then we filed for an extension, and the county was willing to do that. So we have until the 28th of this month.
So, well, Lisa, you want to talk, do you have any comments on this?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that we, as a board, have a real responsibility to making sure that we know what's happening on the property that we have, and that we are being able to be very responsible about making sure that we're providing access. If something was wrong, we don't have anything to get, except to go through the creek or somebody's backyard, and that's not okay. And if you go ahead and use it as a park, when there are people in a park and they're walking around, there's fewer people that are camping in that park. But when you leave it all by itself, there's 11 acres there. Anybody could go over there right now. I don't know that they would. It's not, you know, it's not a really great spot to like lie down, I gotta tell you. But I will say that it is an asset. It's something. Union Park is really well used. I go a lot. The kids are at the skate park, they're on the dirt bike thing, and they're having little races all the time. People at the dog park, they're playing disc golf. Everybody's walking the trails. It's so well used, and they're maintaining it. I really appreciate that you guys are doing such a good job. But we have a responsibility, and when we've been talking about getting access to this 11 acres since I've been on this board, that's 6 years now. And we still have gotten nowhere. So, I mean, I think we have an obligation to try to do what we have been elected to do, which is to take care of the property that the district owns. And we're not doing it.
How much time have we spent looking for other avenues to access that property besides building a bridge?
Well, other than accessing it through other private neighbors up there and from Dayton Avenue, there really isn't another way down there.
Have we spoken with anybody?
We spoke to the developers. Developers gave us money, but because the creek kind of flows around that piece of property, it's very isolated.
Have we talked to any neighbors that are there that want this trail?
The two that Dawn and I talked to, and they kind of are right around where the bridge is, they did not want it because they thought that, they might be, their property might be affected, and I can understand that. We told them that we'd be willing to put a fence up and, monitor a little bit more closely, but we can't get over there now.
So I develop, I'm a developer. And we come across this kind of issue all the time when we find a piece of property, particularly one that has been used for a different purpose previously, but it's been zoned appropriately. And the neighbors are always like, what are you doing? Why are you developing it? And it's like, I use that as my backyard. And it's like, I'm sorry, you don't own it. Somebody else owns it now, and it's gonna be developed for some other purpose. The community owns that property. And like, we have a responsibility. Yes, the people that have their homes right up against it, the park was there first, and they knew it. It's just like Jacob, people put up fences. We have a responsibility. We can go ahead and vote not to do this, we can go ahead and not do a little bit, and we will have liability, lots of liability, because we knowingly are gonna say no. And I'm not willing to accept that kind of thing. So I will absolutely go on record saying we have to have access. And if we don't have access, and you guys wanna vote for no access, I'm gonna vote against it. And I think this is not really good.
I have a few questions. There was a gentleman who came a couple months ago and talked about how it was just a flood swamp back there. Is that true? And if it is true, how much will it cost to fix it?
Dawn and I went down there during a pouring rainstorm in January.
It was bad.
The rainstorm or the park?
Yeah,
the rainstorm.
Okay. I was amazed.
And we
that
walked
could
around the
walk.
entire property. And
So
some
you
of
think
it's
it's
high
fine?
ground, some of it's high ground. Yes, it's a little wet, but it can be. I mean, we built trails in worse conditions than that. It's no worse than the Ewing Young Park. Let's put it that way. Because Ewing Young Park has city drainages that run through there. It has, storm drains that run through there. So it gets wet and, it dries up eventually. But we have the equipment available to maintain that now, so that it's not 9 feet tall and people can go and play disc golf all year round if they choose to.
Don, what year was this? What year did you guys decide that you wanted to access that other side of the property?
I can speak to that because I was looking at a bridge
Yeah,
that 2016?
yes,
But you bought it in 1977,
that's correct.
and you just
It's
thought about
one
the
of-
bridge and.
It's one of the first parks that we bought. There was no, as a matter of fact, we thought that the city had annexed the whole park. We were surprised when it wasn't. We found out that part of it was in the county. We were very surprised because we had to okay the annexation of the park for the city. But they did not inform us that they put it down the creek bed. Their rationale for that, when I went to them, was, why did you guys do that? We couldn't get service over to the other side. and we didn't want to get service over there. So that's how the property got divided, 11 acres.
Art? Yeah, just wanted to point out that the trail's only been there for the last 7 or 8 years. And I know the gentleman that was here when he was speaking about the terrible conditions and how, you know, it was a big swampland. And I think before we built the trail, it was the same condition on the city side of the creek where, you know, it's treacherous walking around there, but Russ is such a good trail builder, and it's all about diverting the water where you need to and improving the surface. And there's no reason one side of the creek can't be the same as this side. Well, you know, I was really surprised. I mean, I really wanted to see the trail there until we went up, kind of bushwhacked our way around. You know, the board decided that night that we should hire Russ to build that trail. And it's very widely used. Now, there's always people on the park.
Yeah, real quick, just so when we were building that park, the upper part of that was basically a PGE pole yard, which we didn't own. I'm sorry, PGE pole yard and then SP Newsprint owned it. So we couldn't really get in there to Union Park as a whole. So they finally deeded it over to us. We were able to get in there. And so we ended up, you know, grading some stuff, and we ended up, we built the skate park. It wasn't done in a day. And then we were able to build the BMX track. And then we were able to build the dog park. And then we were able to build the disc golf part of this. Then we were able to build the trail part. So each one of those came in a phase because we couldn't afford to do all of that at one time, just to give you some history. So that's kind of when you say, why did we do it before? Well, it was really difficult to get in there before because somebody else owned it. And then it was given back to us and so on. So this is the history.
One more question. In case I know you said this, but would you explain again what the consequences of putting this off are if we get it next year rather than jump on it this year?
There are no consequences. I mean, you're not gonna be able to, it's July 5th already.
If we did it in 2 years, I mean, we're talking about prioritizing projects.
Well, either way, any way we do this, we still need the county's approval for the land use.
Right. So, as I see it, correct me if I'm wrong, we have the wait for the county to change their code. The second is litigate against the county through the appeal process. The third is to work with the city of Newburgh for annexation. We kind of were shied away from the Newburgh annexation because it takes a little bit of time and it's in theory more expensive. I guess I'll just voice my opinion of these three options. The first option, which is wait for the county to adopt something, I think it's kind of pointless. It seems like that may never happen, so that gives us no predictability or control. Second, litigation. I think litigating should be a last resort, and I also believe that there's probably a smaller chance of success than maybe we were sold. Let's say 50-50. So that does not give us any guarantee. The third option, although it's not necessarily the prettiest, is the only one to me that has any certainty to it, which is let's go down the process of the annexation through the city of Newburgh and move the project along that way. That's what makes sense to me from what I'm hearing. If any of my facts are wrong, let me know. That's kind of what I'm seeing here.
Your difficulty will be the time frame. We had the attorney at the board meeting. The attorney explained the options that you laid out. And the board at that time chose to go for the appeal because it was the cheapest way to go and was by far the fastest way to go. The other one was more expensive and it would definitely take longer.
So if we go forward with this, okay, and we decide we're going to fight the county, and we lose, then where are we at?
Same place you were when you started.
So why don't we just pass on that and go right,
Right, and
do annexation?
So it's 5 years typically.
Are we under a time crunch?
No.
Well, I do think
Well,
we
same.
have people that are asking for this space to be available, and there's been quite a few that have been ordered, that's what it be available.
is the assumption that the city of Newburgh would fight this or make the process take longer? Is there?
No, it's just typically how long it takes.
They have to go, I think, through James Hopkins and then have to do a whole review. All of that
think-
stuff in order to annex their land that's not been.
This is by far what we're doing now, the cheapest way to go with approving this. If we wait for the annexation, you will spend a lot of money. But that's for you to decide. I've already recommended that we go with the appeal and that we go that way. And that's based on attorneys' recommendation, not only from our attorney, but other attorneys. I've talked with SDAO, I've talked with other people, and that's probably the way to go. But if you say no,
Well, and
then
I appreciate that the attorneys want to litigate, and that is in their interest. It doesn't necessarily mean that that should be in our interest. And so I think with fresh eyes on it, we need to look at what is the right thing to do, and what is certain. Litigation is never certain. We may prevail, we may not. There's also just the idea that we're litigating against a group that we probably need to be working with as well. Those are my thoughts. So I do believe that the annexation process, although it might be slower, is the sure thing that we have.
Yeah, to reiterate what I said before, because this went on the agenda tonight, and people weren't noticed that it was gonna be on the agenda, the board can do whatever they want, but I worry that, and everybody talks about litigation with whoever, that someone come back and say, hey, we weren't notified of this, we should have been notified of this, and you did this. So I just want to make sure that we are okay that way. And the second thing is the bypass bike ped trail in the ODOT easement. I want to make sure that, I like that staff to tell us that, okay, we don't have to go to LUBA with that, or this is part of the same type of thing. You follow what I'm saying here? So that's kind of where I stand on that. So you make whatever choice you want, but I'm just saying that I don't want to be involved with someone coming back and saying, why wasn't the public aware of this?
The other thing is let's talk about cost. What is the cost of this bridge and where we're gonna go from here? If we have to litigate something, what do we think the cost is gonna be of this bridge? Anybody have an idea?
Yeah, I think it was, with all the engineering and studies and permits and things, was around $304,000.
And that's already budgeted for this year, and obviously that, even though it can't be done this year, so we'll.
This bridge is something that's gonna carry a vehicle?
Yes, it will be able to carry a tractor or an emergency vehicle if necessary.
So it's not stairs, it's actually ramps.
No, it's a bridge. Yeah. And it has to actually be elevated, because that creek floods, it back floods was from the laminate, so the bridge has to be fairly substantial and be able to withstand flooding.
I have a question.
Sure.
Dana, have you had any thought about possibly selling that land? Because it seems like it's difficult to access it. Do you maybe consider selling that back to the homeowners that join that side, taking your money and using it to, in other parks that you have in the district? Kind of use your resources at another place. Just a question.
That's a board decision, that's beyond me.
I think it's hard being in the public space, having public land and then selling it. You know, because the idea is that it's supposed to be accessible for other people. And we put tons of money into a lot of different spaces within our district. And it's 11 acres of perfectly good parkland. So there's
Yeah. I taught here 27 years. There's kids using that land. I'll guarantee you, I know, I've taken them there. And there's one of the unique geologic features in the entire valley is on the base of the bed of Chehalem Creek. It's actually a pillow of basalts on the seafloor. And kids are using that during the summer. They're in there, and more than you think. So it behooves us if we have this public land, like I go over there, it's public land. I don't need a trail. I can get across the creek easy enough during certain times of the year, but then there's no supervision. There's no way to, if anybody gets hurt, to readily access them, any of those things. And there's nobody with eyes on it, ever.
Is there gonna be anybody with eyes on it once there's a bridge that goes over it?
Yeah, but trails, yeah, you actually, it's amazing the difference trails make for homeless, for kids misbehaving, all those things. In fact, if you get the kids involved in building it, they'll take care of it.
If you can get there, why do you need a bridge? Sorry. I don't know why you need a bridge if you can get there now, so.
Well, you have to go through water.
Yeah.
It's a slant.
If you're
and I think
handicapped, it'd
yeah.
probably be difficult for everyone to get there.
Yeah, and it just, has everyone on this board been to this park?
Yes.
Okay. I'd like to state that too, Jim, because you mentioned that, I think you're right. I've hiked this park a number of times, I've played disc golf there, and I used to take my dogs to the dog park, so, I know what it's like in the winter, and I know why the neighbor said it's wetland. It's a little difficult to mow the grass down inside. I played disc golf and I was muddy up to my knees, but I think it's also a great trail. I enjoy the trail. I think it's a good hike right on the edge of town, and you feel like you're in the woods. I think I agree with what you're saying. Creek is beautiful. It turns into a bit of a river during the rainy season. But all that being said, I think what this board has to decide is if we are prepared tonight to make one of the three decisions, one of the three paths, or kick this out to another meeting. Jim, it's your opinion that we should move this to another meeting?
I just worry that, I don't want to have another meeting. Don't get me wrong. Okay, but I just worry that someone's gonna come back and say, listen, we weren't noticed of this, and it was on your agenda, but it wasn't when it went to print. That's one thing I would. You know, I might be wrong in saying that, but that's my concern.
My inclination, I feel like I'm informed on this issue. I feel like my position would be to end the litigation and proceed with the annexation to Newburgh. I think that's, in my opinion, where we're going to end up anyway. So I think moving along that path, even though it is slow, I think doing that now makes sense as opposed to having another meeting or two. Yeah.
Remind the board, the same thing was said about the golf course through litigation. Jim remembered. As a matter of fact, aide for the governor stood there and said there'll never be a golf course here. There is a golf course there. We did succeed. Why? Because I thought it made sense way back then. And I believe LCDC and everyone can see that it makes sense. And I can't believe people would say no. For what reason? We're all people. Why in the world wouldn't we say yes? It just makes sense. I guess maybe I have more faith than mankind or in groups. It's not about litigation.
Well, just an observation from the peanut gallery back here. Chairman Smith, we heard this beautifully eloquent speech from you at the beginning about how you wanted to build bridges. I wrote it down because I thought it was important. And it's confusing to me that one of your first acts as the new chairperson is to delay a bridge and not look for the most expedient way to get a bridge. So if you're about building bridges, let's actually build a bridge. Would be my I guess my question to you. Or was that just rhetoric?
What I said is build bridges with stakeholders.
Oh.
And I believe that suing,
Not real bridges.
suing or litigating stakeholders doesn't accomplish that. I think in the long run.
The county could also come to
in
the
the long
table
run.
though. The county could come to the table and they could mediate. There's no reason that has to go through the full litigation process. And as a business owner, you know that sometimes that's the only way to get parties that are at odds to the table to talk.
And that's what will occur with the process that we have. Eventually, there'll probably be mediation. That's what occurred with the golf course. And we went to mediation and it was settled. And again, maybe I'm wrong, but we were able to mediate it and get it accomplished. I just would recommend that we follow this path because I think with mediation, with the county, we'll get this solved.
Don, you know, at the last meeting, I told you that I was going to kill this bridge. We're not moving forward. We're not gonna go.
That's why we
And you
brought it up.
asked me, you said, Jason, what if we annex it to the city? And I didn't have an answer for you there. But I don't believe that we're gonna get the commissioners. I don't think we're gonna get the Board of Commissioners to change their mind and what the rules and the regulations are regarding land use laws. And I'm in agreement with you that what we should do is work on the annexation route. I think that's what we should do. It wouldn't make any difference if you guys walked me down to Ewing Park, and I'll just finish what I'm saying here. And you showed me exactly where you want this bridge to go, because it doesn't make any difference, because we still have a hurdle of land use laws, okay? We still have that hurdle. I agree, sounds like a great idea to have this bridge, okay? I'm not willing to kill it, how's that? All right, I don't want to kill the bridge idea, but I think that we need to take the best route, which is probably annex the property and the city.
So, and yet at the same time, what is your opposition to following through with the loop? It's gonna be quicker. We have lots of we have very knowledgeable staff who have been doing a lot of work on this. They don't do this so that they can redo it 3 times, you know, right? And land use, right? Like, it's the same thing. Annexation is a land use process. It's the same thing as this little process and trying to get it changed because it's our property and we should be able to put a bridge. That we're calling it a transportation corridor is disingenuous. It is a landlocked piece of property that you have to go into the park and you have to come back out of it through the park. And the only vehicles that are gonna go over there are ones, emergency vehicles or repair vehicles. And that's it. So I don't understand why the delay saying, you know, it is a very long process to go through an annexation. And we are this far along, and I'm not sure it's gonna be so much cheaper and so much quicker. I don't understand why you wouldn't try that first. If we have to go 5 years, 5 years is a long time for people. That young man back there that was speaking earlier is gonna be gone to college before he can ride his bike over there. You know, I mean, that's a long time in people's lives.
So this has been litigated already, all right? Not this specific bridge, but this specific idea. There's already a bridge that they want to put in, and we've already said, no, you cannot do that
Who's they?
because of the land
I
use
don't know
laws.
that's incorrect. That's absolutely incorrect. Who are we talking about?
We're talking about the bridge that was gonna be a part of the Ant Hills Trail.
Read the Louver response.
So I think we've had discussion. I'm gonna go ahead and make a motion to end the current litigation and appeal process and to pursue annexation of this plot of land into the city of Newburgh and to complete the bridge once that's done. So that's my motion. Are there any seconds?
Oh, yeah, raised my hand earlier, I don't know if it's something. Again, your 10-year-old self, poor kid, wanna park. I hope you vote with that in mind as a 10-year-old. The other thing is new people on board, maybe you have connections with the county commissioners, you can address that. Maybe put it on pause for a moment. They've already been working for years on this. No need to rush. 3 more weeks is not gonna make a huge change. See what Luba has to say. And again, it is a time frame for some kids, you know, maybe not for us, but for that certain age group. And then maybe get surveyed, do a community survey. Hey, maybe taxpayers want their money to be spent on something like this because they see the value if it goes through. And even if it doesn't, at least they know that, wow, at least we tried to make our community that much better.
The motion is made. Are there any seconds? The motion on the floor is to discontinue the current litigation and appeal process and instead move forward on the bridge project by moving to annex the property into the city. And motion made and second. I know we've had quite a bit of discussion. Is there any, I guess I will have my one last piece, which is, I think this has been discussed quite a bit. And I think if we can make a decision now, I believe this is the only decision that gives us certainty. I do believe that the litigation is likely to not succeed, and then we will end up doing this anyways. So that's my personal opinion. I could be wrong.
We keep using the word litigation.
Or appeal process.
The appeal process, part of that appeal process is mediation. So we may not go with litigation. There'll be a part there, but we're talking 2 different things. There's a difference in mediation and litigation. As a matter of fact, I believe Casey and I talked, or Casey talked with the attorney with the idea of mediation, and the attorney agreed that it was probably the best way to go. And so, just for whatever it's worth. But it's still an appeal process.
I still believe that it will not be successful. That's my belief based on just the assessment. Our percentage chance of prevail. So I believe to move the process forward, that's why I made the motion. I believe this is the most logical option, and it's the only one that has certainty to it.
I disagree. There's no certainty to anything. That's issue.
Most
no certainty, right? So I think we have a 50-50 in all of it, right? So we don't know until we try. And we were given this time. We were given, it got put on the agenda, it's written in, it's not even on the agenda. And you're ready to make a decision tonight. You're not giving even a chance yourselves to look through it, to understand it, and you want to move to do something. So I feel like that's, but it's not a good way to go forward. I think that we need to be able to look through what the application says and why we're here, and whether or not, then we can come back and make a decision that will be more informed. Now, you think that you already have enough information, I'm sure you all do. I mean, I think it's unfortunate that you would just want to, you're throwing it on an agenda and making a decision without really having more time to discuss it.
Don, can I ask you, how many times have you taken something like this to the commissioners? How many times have you tried to mediate? How many times have you tried to do this?
The golf course was the biggest test. We also, with the idea of Bob and Crystal Riley Park, there was a lot of discussion with the county on that, and we were able to come to a conclusion with that. And that I thought, I didn't like the results, but I felt that it was fair. And we finally came to that. With this, I don't know. I know the county is concerned about property rights. And I want to say that the board has always said, with trails and stuff, that we would never condemn property. Never. We believe in property rights. It's been stated well in advance, but yet people keep bringing it up. Why? We already made the decision. It was made a long time ago. It keeps being thrown in there, and I don't understand why. But regardless, the attorneys, I believe, does that, and I know with the golf course, I got a lot of free meals on that by planners all over the state that said, you'll never be successful, never, ever. We were. And why? Because I had faith. I believed in human beings. I felt that it was the right thing to do, just as I feel this is the right thing to do.
Yeah, the whole transportation thing with this bridge, the reason that I voted to go to Luba, it just didn't meet the smell test for me. It just didn't make sense to me. And that's one of the reasons I voted for it. I wanted to see specifically what they would say. If we're in the wrong, then we're in the wrong. If the county's in the wrong, then the county's in the wrong. But it just was uncomfortable for me. Because remember, our district, unlike the county or the county and the city, their main attribute is to provide police, some of them fire, infrastructure, roads, things like that, and a little bit of recreation. But we were voted on by the public to create a recreation district that provides recreational opportunities for part of Yamhill County, city of Newburgh, and the city of Dundee. And that has always been my goal. And that's what I look at from all these aspects. I'm not looking at what the county wants or what the city wants or what the state wants or whatever they want. I'm looking to try to get the most that we can for all our constituents that voted me and you in. Some of them voting us in not knowing who we are, including me, but we were voted in. So I think that it behooves us, however you're going to vote, to remember that we're here to offer recreational opportunities to all of our constituents, whether it be the golf course, whether it be the swimming pool, whether it be the 20 parks that we have. Because I can tell you, and I've told you this individually when we went and met together, that if this was a city right now, we would not have the golf course, we would not have the aquatic center, and we might have maybe less than a third of the park, and we definitely wouldn't have Crystal Riley as a park. So just understand that we're bigger, we offer more than most cities would ever get. So, and hopefully you folks are seeing that, and that's why I want to take this tour. But that's why I was interested in seeing what Luba said, because I wanted to, I wanted to pass the smell test. If the county was making the right decision, great. But if they weren't, then our constituents need to know that. That's right. So, yeah.
By the way, Dawn, when you mention about property rights, we're not talking about somebody not in my backyard type things. We're talking specifically about having just exactly what you said, taking a piece of property, without proper compensation, or just taking their, well, no matter what their compensation, they probably wouldn't be adequate. That's what I was talking about when I gave my speech. It's not about not in my backyard issues, because no matter what you do in life, that's gonna happen everywhere. So, but Jim, the other thing is when we're talking about this, one of the things that I ran on is being good stewards of our money and our finances, how we spend our money, okay? And just because we have a piece of property does not mean that we need to spend a significant amount of money for that piece of property. It may not make sense. It may not make sense. So, sure.
Annexation process is gonna be more expensive than this is. So, how do you?
Well, no, it's not. Well, let me explain why. Because if we have a situation where we may not be able to get our way, we're gonna have to go to annexation anyway. So now we're gonna have a couple of processes that we will have paid for.
I'm already halfway through this process, so you just throw all of whatever work is on the.
It's easy to say that. It's easy to say that.
All right, enough background on that,
Because, you're talking about an area that park services an area of probably the highest density population that we have in the city of Newburgh. And that's not a very big space for that population density that's there. There's numerous apartment buildings, there's huge apartment structures. All that area is probably, if I would hazard to guess, is about as high as you get as far as population density. It would only make sense if you were serving the entire community that you would want to expand that park. Because if there was anywhere that we should be expanding more green space is where you have high population density. And when you talked about, and what triggered the private property right things is that there is no private property within that park boundary. There are people that are not happy that it's going in, but actually it should benefit them. And if they really are upset about it, put a cyclone fence in there with barbed wire on top of it, I don't care. But you're talking about an area that's been historically underserved in our community. And like we did the playground at Edwards. It was in the greatest disrepair of any playground structure in the entire city. And that's because they have high density, low socioeconomic by and large, and they couldn't raise the money. We built every playground at every school here, along with I think so by now, haven't we?
Close.
And with help from some help, but those things don't get done. If you aren't gonna service everybody, then what are you doing here?
Just so you know, I don't have a property rights issue.
Well, that's what you brought up in your.
Well, okay.
We've had a lot of. We can talk about that.
Yeah, we've had a lot of back and forth on this. I don't think anyone on this board is raising a property rights issue. My specific argument is I believe this is the most direct path to get where we want anyways, and to build a bridge. So I'm gonna call the question. There's a motion and a second, and I'm gonna go ahead and ask for a vote on that motion and second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? You're abstaining?
I'm abstaining.
Abstaining. So that would be a not pass, right?
That's
So
correct.
that didn't pass. So at this point, I think we need to come to some sort of agreement as a board on what we want to do next. So we have 2 more options, or schedule a special meeting in the next 2 weeks. So this would be the time to make a motion.
So what are we saying? This is, they can, if we don't vote on it, then they will continue going, working with Luba.
So my understanding is staff wants us to make some sort of decision if we're going to at least have another meeting this month on
within
this
the next
issue.
Our direction at this point is to move forward with what we're doing. The only reason this was brought up is because statements was made, and I felt it important to bring it back to this board to make a decision. Otherwise, we will continue with the process as approved by the board. So that's our mandate right now, unless we get otherwise. If your motion had approved, that would have killed it. It would have been over. So our reason for bringing it up is to, otherwise we'll continue with our process.
Okay. So knowing that, are there any other motions?
Motion to meet again in a couple weeks.
Do we want to agree to meet again in a couple weeks on this?
What's the point of meeting in a couple of weeks? What are we trying to achieve if we meet in a couple of weeks?
More time to review this and decide on the options.
Couple of weeks would be the 25th, which is Tuesday. So you may get out your calendars, check it out. And also, if you do call a special meeting, the meeting would only be for this topic only. So, right, it'd be a special call meeting, and it would be for this topic only. So the agenda would be this only.
So you have a conflict on?
And this has to be done by the 25th, to have a response by the 25th.
28th is, yeah, it's needed by the 28th.
Yeah.
Which is a day after a regular board meeting would be scheduled.
We could go the 24th.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to understand why it is that we're gonna get together in 2 weeks.
I mean, as it is right now, what has happened is that they, I think from that last vote, they still move forward until something changes, right? And if it doesn't within the 2 weeks, it moves forward.
If there's no motion, or if the board doesn't feel like calling a meeting, then we'll just proceed. But the president of the board could make that decision. That would be his, but it must be made at a public meeting tonight. But to answer your question, we just keep proceeding if no special meeting was called.
That's why I requested a pause in this whole thing, was to let you guys read through that for the next 2 weeks or whatever, make an informed decision, and not have to make a decision tonight. You can make it at another meeting, if that's what you want to do.
Well, so the reason why we're voting on this is so you guys can decide whether you wanna fight this thing through Lua.
No, it's not that,
Correct.
like, we're giving them, we're giving them direction, either fight Luba or stop.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it's not fighting.
I wouldn't
Yeah.
use the word fighting, I would use the word trying to find
Kind
out.
of like, yeah.
All right, well, at the risk of kind of rehashing the same thing, so basically, I could set a meeting for 2 weeks from now. Obviously, that's not what I wanted to do tonight. I made a motion that was different from that. But in the spirit of compromise, by just a nod ahead, is that what everyone would like to do?
What's that?
To meet again in a couple weeks. It'll probably be the Monday, the 24th. If you guys, she has a conflict on the 25th. She being May 6th, so, 24th, is that what everyone wants? Okay.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, so that's what we have, direct staff to set that meeting. And, with that, I'll make a motion to adjourn. Oh.
I have one more comment on this discussion. So if our staff could again meet with the county commissioners or at least talk with them to see if there's a way we can move differently to get this outside of that, I think that would be a good thing. And so I'm just throwing it out there. It's up to the staff. We might have already talked to them, but I think it's
We can invite them to the meeting.
well, I'm talking about prior to the meeting.
Right, and we also could invite them to the meeting.
Okay.
There's
Send a
nothing
formal
wrong with that.
invitation.
And we'll do that. We'll invite them to the
That
meeting.
would work, that would constitute as a quorum, something that we would have to vote on, so that's why it would not be appropriate. Unless, of course, you met individually with the commissioners prior to your meeting, but meeting as a body, that was not, for something that would be ultimately deliberated on, would not be appropriate, so that's why I'm just saying we've got to be real careful to don't step over that.
What I would do is contact the county administrator. I would ask him to bring it to the board. I would then ask him to get the board's permission for him or the planning director to attend our meeting.
Yeah, I don't know process-wise, if that's, first of all, the planning director can come to anything he wants, the administrator is not part of this discussion. So I think we don't bring him into it. What I am saying is that if there's any discussion with individual members of the board, it have to be done one-on-one.
Okay.
I'm just gonna interject here, I don't think that's allowed because you are in active appeal with LUBA against the county, so we are not allowed to talk about anything associated with this.
It's good to know.
Okay, so meeting on the 24th, we'll have obviously communication between now and then on exactly what we can do. So to clarify, can the board president not make a motion to adjourn? Is that a?
I think somebody else has to, and then nobody has a second, and then you just adjourn.
Okay.
I'll move to adjourn.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay.
What, hold. If we're doing a special meeting, we're not adjourning this meeting.
Oh, that's right.
We're going to reconvene at the 24th. At 6 p.m. on the 24th, then we would adjourn. And on the 24th, this will be the only item that we discuss.
Will public be invited?
Public's always invited.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so to be continued on the 24th.